And you're watching the Tuesday edition of Market View right here on Eswatini TV. My name is Notelisitole and welcome to the program. As the country continues to seek new pathways for investment, job creation and private sector growth, the role of an active stock market cannot be overstated. From providing businesses with access to capital to offering investors opportunities to build wealth, the Eswatini Stock Exchange holds significant potential for national development, of course. And in our discussion today with the CEO, we will unpack how the Eswatini Stock Exchange is structured, how accessible the market is, and what the future holds for the country's capital markets. But first, our business stories this afternoon. In our business update, Eswatini Sugar says that despite the recent heavy rains affecting the Sarak region, they have managed to continue exporting sugar to Mozambique using rail transport. Nondobego Mabuza, head of advocacy and stakeholder engagement, says they were forced to suspend road transport due to the impact of the rains. Sugar contributes more than 5% to the country's gross domestic product, making it one of the most important commodities in Eswatini's economy. Other businesses locally, mainly logistic companies, have had challenges reaching Mozambique due to badly damaged roads in that country. That is at least according to Business Eswatini.
As Eswatini Sugar, we do transport a significant tonnage of sugar into Mozambique in order for it to be either stored in our warehouses there, but in preparation for shipments to our export markets. So normally we use two modes of transport. We use either road or rail. Fortunately, the rains have fallen during what we call off-crop season, so our production has stopped, but we do have volumes of sugar that are moving to Maputo for shipment. So what we've had to do, we've had to stop any movement of sugar by road because of the flooding that has affected the roads between Eswatini and Maputo. But fortunately, because we have the rail mode, we have been continuing to send our sugar using rail. So we are just wrapping up that last bit of our consignments via rail.
In November last year, the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade launched a dedicated WhatsApp line, 7602-8830, for businesses that supplied local companies and government institutions to report non-payment. Despite the initiative, only 5 businesses have so far lodged complaints. SEDCO Events Officer Tembi Zondo confirmed the update.
She says that when these reports are received by SEDCO, they are supposed to be forwarded to the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade for further processing. However, the ministry requires reporting businesses to submit proof of supply, including purchase orders, delivery notes, invoices, and other supporting documents. She further notes that all 5 businesses have so far been unable to provide these documents, making it difficult to process their grievances.
Kusukela ngoNovember nje nasiyisho le nombolo siyimemetela isiveni. Dincane tikhalo lesititfolile. Kulesititfolile besiye sicele lokuthi somabhizinisi akube netinvo lasivetela tona letikhombisako ukuthi kahulumende uyakwelete. So kule sititfolile ticelo bokhanza ukuthi bosomabhizinisi abakawafaki onke lama documents lesiwatsingako lokufaka ekhathi i-invoice siyesiqale ngeke ukuthi asithole le purchasing order bese siyathola nale delivery note bese sekuba ke ngile invoice lekhombisako ukuthi waniketwa lo msebenzi wadeliver wasese uya invoice solo ke asiprovele ngaleto dinto leto lesicelako bosoba business ke uyukhanze ukuthi bayasiletha lesikhalo but akabe asafaka lama documents lokwenda singakhona ukuyisebenta kahle.
The Chief Executive Officer at the Federation of Eswatini Business Community, Ben Simelane, urges businesses to use the WhatsApp line.
As first week, we realized that the intervention brought by the minister has not taken off in a way that we were expecting. There are several reasons why this is so. One of which is the fact that the trust had already been damaged between the suppliers and the government. And therefore, it will take a while before the trust is regained. We take this opportunity to encourage the suppliers to give this intervention a chance to see if it works for them, and to cooperate with the processes that are required, that is providing the documentations for making follow-ups. We thank the Minister for the intervention. We hope it will take off well.
SEDCO has urged all businesses lodging complaints to ensure that all required documents are submitted via the WhatsApp line on 602-8830 to speed up the process. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
And that is your business brief. We'll speak to Eswatini Stock Exchange CEO after this. Stay tuned.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. You are still watching Market View, and onto this now. The stock market is often seen as a barometer of economic confidence, reflecting how businesses and investors respond to both local and global conditions. Over the last year, the Eswatini Stock Exchange has been shaped by limited listings and very little trading activity. Now we want to know the factors that influenced market performance last year, the opportunities and risks that could define this year, and what can be done to stimulate activity. And I'm now joined by Eswatini Stock Exchange Chief Executive Smanga Mdluli. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Afternoon, thank you for having me.
Right, let's kick things off with the structure of the Eswatini Stock Exchange. And when you look at the exchange, how does it compare perhaps to other exchanges in the region?
Thank you for the question, Otsile. So yes, the Eswatini Stock Exchange is quite comparable to other similar size exchanges in SADC and the region. So our exchange is structured as such. We have the main board where you get the larger corporations being listed on it that can raise in excess of 5 million Malangeni and above. We also have an SME board, which obviously is tailored for SMEs, has slightly less stringent requirements. And for that, listed SMEs can actually raise between 50,000 and up to 5 million emalangeni. And then we also have a debt board where you find government bonds as well as corporate bonds being listed. Those are the three boards that we have.
Right. And what's your sentiment, or at least interpretation of how the Eswatini Stock Exchange has grown? We're looking at now a market capitalization of over 6.9 billion Malangi.
Yes, thank you. So 6.9 billion malangeni for Eswatini, for a country with the population that Eswatini has, is relatively okay. It's good. But it also signals growth because it hasn't always been 6.9 billion malangeni. It has grown to that amount. And it will continue to grow. We're confident that with the strategy and the strategic pillars that we have in place, we believe that we will be able to bring on more activity onto the exchange, and we should see that number continue to grow. So, you know, I think relatively speaking, because you want to compare ourselves to similar size exchanges, it's not very fair to compare us to a JSE, for example, which is a much larger exchange, has been established for the longest time, and South Africa has a much larger population than we do. So it tends to be an outlier, and we don't compare ourselves so much to them. But when it comes to a comparison against other similar size exchanges, it's relatively good. And like I say, it signals growth. We're expecting to see that market capitalization number go up.
Speaking of growth, how many companies are currently listed on the Eswatini Stock Exchange as we looking at how, you know, the year's just starting out?
Right,
so we're starting out the year with how many companies exactly on the exchange, and what are the sectors that they currently represent?
Very interesting question. Interesting because as of last Friday, you're right to say we're just starting out the year. And we've had a very good start to the year because as of last Friday, we had our 10th listing. So all along, we had 9 companies listed on exchange. As of Friday, we now have 10 listing with the addition of XBAC, which is a special purpose acquisition company that was listed on Friday that will actually focus in the agricultural space. So to answer your second question there, the sectors that are represented, we have retail, we have banking, we have the agri space. So yeah, it's not as diverse as we'd like it to be, but it's growing, and we're moving in the right direction.
And in terms of diversification, is it not somewhat an improvement when you look at how AXA came in and they currently have 11 million in shares with a market value of at least 11 million in Malangeni, and it did boost the listing by at least total market cap of 0.16%. Doesn't that speak to diversification, improved investor sentiment on the Eswatini Stock Exchange?
Most definitely. It does speak to improved investor sentiment. Well, certainly we hope it will translate to that. As soon as those shares start trading, we expect and we hope that Eswatini will actually come on board and start trading and buying and selling those shares. But yes, it does also speak to diversity in the sense that the SPAC in XPAC, which is spelled SPAC, like I say, it stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. And what it is, it's a holding company whose job really will be to collect funds from investors and then basically look to allocate it to worthwhile investments in the agriculture space. So a SPAC listing was actually the first of its, well, not the first of its kind, but in agriculture. A SPAC that's actually for agriculture is the first of its kind. And so, yes, it speaks to diversity. And what I like about it, obviously, is our economy, Eswatini, is an agriculture-based economy. So this actually is in line with I would say, national interests.
We've had 9 companies listed on the Eswatini Stock Exchange for so long. And now to have this new entrant, making it the 10th, what does it say, you know, when you look at the challenges that have perhaps limited listing or entry on the Eswatini Stock Exchange for so long?
Yeah, we've been challenged in the past, and really the main thing, I think, would be a lack of financial literacy amongst our population. I think as a stock exchange and our members, the brokers, transfer secretaries, and everybody that's involved in this space, have the challenge now and an opportunity to go out there and try as best as possible to demystify the stock exchange for Eswatini. Eswatini right now, they currently view the stock exchange as something that's not accessible to the everyday person. People are of the impression that the stock exchange is for the elite, the rich people, high net worth individuals, when the truth is the stock exchange can actually be made to work for the larger economy. It should be able to work for everybody. So that's what we're looking at to do with our strategy, with our new strategy, is to emphasize inclusivity. So the stock exchange is supposed to be doing amazing things for our economy, but also for every individual in the country.
Yeah. You have just rewritten the narrative. You are saying the Eswatini Stock Exchange is available for everyone to trade.
Of course.
Given that, what are the trading platforms that the exchange uses to then facilitate the buying and selling of securities?
So I'm happy to announce that so our stock exchange is actually automated. So we have an automated trading system. So it's not a bunch of people just sitting there crunching numbers on the computer. It's actually automated. We have an automated trading system where if one individual decides to buy shares, the system actually then matches that buy order with somebody else's order who's looking to sell. So it actually happens automatically. It's all automated. We have our trading operations department, as well as our monitoring and surveillance departments at the exchange, whose job is to ensure that everything is done in order. And we also then have the CSD, which is a Central Securities Depository, which actually keeps record of all the shares that have been bought and all the money that's been exchanged for those. So it's all automated, and that actually happens at the central bank. So yeah, I can assure Eswatini and the nation that anything and everything that happens on exchange is automated, it's transparent, and can be trusted.
Right, and what would be then the core listing and compliance requirements that a company would have to meet in order to be admitted and maintained on the Eswatini Stock Exchange? What does it take to actually even make it to to that market?
Yeah, so as I'd mentioned, that's a good question. As I'd mentioned before, there'll be different requirements for different boards. I've mentioned the SME board as well as the main board. But in all honesty, everything that happens on the exchange requires that there's a lot of transparency and a lot of disclosure that's happening. So, for instance, we'll definitely want to see that company is audited so that they can share the audited financial statements with us so we can track their performance. They have to be profitable. Definitely have to be at least profitable for the past 3 years before they list, if they're looking to list on the exchange. And what's really, really big is governance. So we want an entity that has excellent governance. We want to make sure that they have a board. So even if you are an SME, we want to make sure that you have a board and that it's not just the founder that's making decisions as to where money is invested and where it goes. So if people are going to give you their money, we want to make sure that you at least have a team that's making decisions on how your company is going to grow, because it has to grow if you're going to be able to pay back and those investors' funds.
And when you say profitability, there's no specific margin there?
Not a specific margin. Like I say, what's important though is that we should see a trend. So like I'm saying, if we look back 3 years, 5 years, we should see that you've been profitable at least for that 3 years continuously. So it's not necessarily the margin, but that definitely the trend. If you're profitable for the past 3 years, we're obviously hoping that your profitability is growing rather than declining.
Right. You mentioned that you're very considerate of transparency.
Right.
How does then the Eswatini Stock Exchange detect, prevent, and certainly respond to market manipulation or, to some extent, suspected insider trading?
Right, it's another very good question. And so I'd already mentioned the two of the departments that we do have at the Eswatini Stock Exchange. We have a trading and operations department. So we've got people there that just sit and make sure that every trade that goes through our system is one that has been vetted and it's on the up and up. We also have the marketing and the monitoring and surveillance department. And what they do is just basically to monitor every trade once again and ensure that everything that is being done, if a director of a company is looking to buy shares, that has to be declared. Actually, it's also true for the staff members at Eswatini Stock Exchange. I can't, for example, just decide to up and buy shares tomorrow or sell shares if I hold any. I'd have to declare that, because then somebody has to monitor and ensure that I'm not doing it because I have now insider information. So we have those types of policies that definitely look to see that we are adhering to those standards.
Right. New year, new entrant, or new listing, if I should be specific using that term. Already there's optimism here. We're hoping that we could see more listings by the end of the year. But when you look at how the year has just started out, what signals then should, be investors looking out for to assess if the Eswatini Stock Exchange is worth going into, is on a sustainable growth path, or it remains a relatively niche market?
Well, thank you for that. And I think what we are going to be intentional about as a Eswatini Stock Exchange is to get out there and, like I say, demystify the Eswatini Stock Exchange to the normal person on the street. So please do expect to see a lot of noise coming out of the exchange. Our staff members will be out spreading the word. We are going to be working with our partners, the brokers, whom we license to actually trade on the exchange on behalf of investors. We're going to be requesting that, they also improve on their systems as well, so that they can attract more of these investors to come and list, and so we can see more activity on the exchange. So yeah, please do expect to see a lot more noise being coming out of the exchange. We expect good news coming from the exchange. We actually expect more listings very early in the year. Actually, in the first half of 2026, we do expect to see at least 2 more listings on our exchange. So that should give Maswati the confidence that things are moving in the right way. We have there's been a change, obviously a strategic change. We have a new board, we have a new CEO, and for that, we're hoping that they're coming with ideas that will bring about change and a lot more activity on the exchange.
Right, CEO, thank you very much for your time. That was Simang Mduli, CEO of the Eswatini Stock Exchange, talking to us about the outlook for the exchange, the new entries that they've just seen, or the new listing that we've just seen this past week, and certainly the outlook for the rest of the year for the Eswatini Stock Exchange. Stay with us, the show continues after this.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Welcome back now for our market analysis segment. In-house economist Anele Sibia is on standby for us. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Sibia. It's the second trading day for the week. What are your observations this afternoon? Right, my apologies. They will have to go for a break. We're back with Sibia after this.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406 7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. We're back now with in-house economist Anele Sibiya for some of the latest in markets. Mr. Sibiya, good afternoon. What's your observation of things this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Notsile. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to the viewers. So markets today traders are continuing to watch what is happening in terms of that Greenland story, and President Trump seems to be surging ahead with, wanting that takeover, and we're seeing those tariff talks, around the 10% to those European countries, and now that is actually causing a bit of uneasiness and uncertainty in the markets, and that's mostly what is happening here. And then you couple that with what is happening in Japan, where we're also seeing a sell-off due to the fiscal uncertainties surrounding the elections. So overall, the markets are really in the red overall across the board. And when you start with Air Europe today, because it's been Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day in the US yesterday, so we don't have those numbers coming through. But coming through into Europe, you can see London is still on the 10,000 mark, but still, showing those signs of those worries around what's going to happen within those. With those tariff talks, and that's the same story throughout Europe, with the DAX losing 379 points in today's trade, the CAC 40 losing 101 points in today's trade. And then when we move on to Asia, the Asian markets there, we're seeing the Nikkei coming down back to the 2,000 marks. Those election fears, they're stocking really a huge sell-off in those Japanese stocks, where we're seeing the Nikkei losing 592 points. Coming into Hang Seng and also into Shanghai, we're seeing a 76 point loss in Hang Seng and a 0.35 point loss in the mainland. They're largely driven by those geopolitical tensions, and what it means, again, are we going to go back to a negotiating table around tariffs, or does Trump want what he wants in terms of that Greenland story there? So markets are just watching to see how that is going to play out. But I think it's a story we've seen before in April of 2025, but we just don't know how far he's going to push it right now. And then you come into the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange has gained 45 points in today's trade, really supported by those record-breaking price levels that we're seeing in terms of gold, and in terms of the fundamentals within the South African economy. And then in terms of our Eswatini Stock Exchange, we haven't seen movements being instituted by that IPO that we've seen. In terms of gold is back on actually on a new-time high of $4,733 per ounce, and the Brent crude oil there is sitting at $64.09 per barrel. So now those are largely driven by the uncertainties. That's the price of gold. We're seeing people going back to those traditional hedging instruments. And in terms of Brent crude oil, we're seeing that stabilizing in terms of that Venezuela story. In terms of the currency, the Lilangeni is actually relatively weaker against the dollar today, also relatively weaker against the euro, and also relatively weaker against the Japanese yen. Now, those are largely driven by the fact that we are waiting to see how the World Economic Forum is going to play out in Davos, and how this whole Greenland story is going to play out in terms of the American position there. But we are just waiting, and we are watching those news, Matsile. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sibiya. In-house economist Anele Sibiya filling us in on all that is shaping markets this Tuesday. Otherwise, this has been the Tuesday edition of Market View. Thank you very much for your company. Until next time, take care.